Hello. Hey guys, I hope all of you are doing well. So I welcome you all to yet another video in the Databricks playlist. And in this particular video, we are going to see what when and otherwise functions are and how we can use them in our data frame. So if you must have heard about the if else statement, and if you are aware about any of the programming language, we usually say if and else statement if we want to give any kind of condition, and based on that particular condition we want the output to be shown. So the very same thing is right here in the when and otherwise function, but it's just that the syntax is a bit different. So in the previous videos, we have seen multiple basic concepts of Spark, like how we can add a new column, how we can rename a new column, how we can filter and perform some kind of group by operations, as well as how we can store the data frame into a table after filtering the data frame based on certain kind of condition. So all these concepts has already been covered, and if you are not aware about these basic concepts, so I would recommend you to first of all watch those videos and then you can continue watching this particular video. So now let's get started with this particular video and jump right into our computer screen. So first of all, let me create a markdown cell. So here I can write when comma otherwise function in Spark. Okay. So we are going to use both of these functions. So firstly, let me read my data frame. So spark dot read dot table, and I will read my table from where workspace dot default dot life, right? And then what I will do, I will display my data frame. Cool. So my instance is getting connected now, and it will take a few seconds to get the output of the data frame, right? So we have our data frame right here in front of us. Now what I want to do is that based on certain condition, I want to add another column. Okay. So maybe if I want to give a kind of high mortality flag. Okay. So I want to give a condition that if the adult mortality, so if I scroll here, you can see this adult mortality column, right? So I want to give a condition in that particular column that if the number of adult mortality is greater than 200, the output should be high, else it should be low. Okay, so this should be the condition for the new column that will be added. So how we can do that particular thing? So for doing that, first of all, we will have to import when and call. So from PySpark.functions, I will import call. I guess you guys are aware about this particular thing if you have seen the previous videos. And there is one more function that is there, and that is called as when. Okay. Now what I will do is that I will create a new data frame. So df1 will be equal to df dot. So for adding a new column, we have something called as with column function, right? We have talked about this in previous video also, but in that particular video, what we did is we used a function called as lit, right? And using that lit function, we gave a single value to all the rows of that particular newly added column. But obviously in reality it did not make any kind of real sense, right? Because giving the same value for same value to all the row of that particular column is usually useless for us. So now we will be understanding that how based on certain condition we can create a new column that can give us certain kind of insights about the data. Cool. So now the syntax is something similar, that for adding a new column, first of all I will have to uh, put the new column name. So here I can put the column name as, let's say, high mortality flag, high mortality flag, right? And now after comma, I will have to give the condition, that on what condition do I want to uh, create this particular new column on. So firstly, as discussed already, that if the adult mortality will be greater than 200, we will give the value as high, else we will give the value as low. So we can write the similar condition. So firstly, we will use the when function, and inside when function, we will use our adult mortality column, right? And if this adult mortality value is greater than 200, right, I will use comma and give the value as high. Then I will close the bracket. Then I will use dot and another function that is called as otherwise. Okay. Otherwise, the value will be low. Now I will display this particular df1. So if I correlate this particular condition with, let's say, Python. Okay, so if let's suppose we were using Python, so in that particular case we would have written something as, if the adult mortality, okay, adult mortality was greater than 200, so we would have printed, let's suppose, high, okay, else we would have printed low, right? So this is the very same condition that we are given, but in Spark we use when condition instead of if, and we use otherwise instead of else, right? And we use this dot syntax for like segregating between both of them. I guess you are now getting the point. And now when I will run this particular cell, you will see that a new column should be added, right? And now if I scroll to the last, a new column with high mortality flag has been added, and we are getting values as highs and low. So here in row 13, we can see that we have a value high, and row 14 we have value low. So if I scroll right here, so we can see, right, in row 13 it's greater than 200, and it's in row 14 it's less than 200. We can also perform select operation to verify this particular thing more easily. So what I will do is display df1.select, and I will select two columns. Firstly, I will select adult mortality, and I will select high mortality flag. I will just select these two columns. I will remove rest of the unnecessary columns that are there. And now we can easily see and easily verify our condition, that if the value of adult mortality is greater than 200, we are getting high as the value, and if it is less than 200, if it is 3, we are getting low, 74 we are getting low, 8 we are getting low, right? And if it is greater than 200, so here you can see 335 we are getting high as a output. Okay, so here we were having only two conditions, right? That if it is greater than 200, you have to add high, and if it is less than 200, you have to add low. But let's suppose if we have more than two conditions, so is it possible to like include all those conditions? So absolutely, it is possible to include all those conditions also. So now let's think of a condition, right, where we want that if the life expectancy is greater than 80, we have to print the value as high. If it is less than 80 and greater than 60, we have to print medium, and if it is less than 60, we have to print low. Okay, so now the condition becomes, if I talk about in Python terms, it becomes something like this, that if life expectancy is greater than 80, okay, we have to print high, right? Now we use elif in Python, right? Elif life expectancy is like this, if it is greater than 60, right, we have to print medium, else we have to print low. Okay, print low. So this is the condition we have to we have to follow, or we have to execute on our data frame, right? But we have to do using when and otherwise functions in Spark. So how we can do it? So we can do it in this particular fashion, that we will write df1 dot df, and we will add the column, and let's say the column name is life underscore category. Okay, and now we have to add the conditions. So when, it's already giving us the uh, hint. So we can do when call of life expectancy, life underscore expectancy is greater than 80, we have to add high in it, right? And now what for elif, what I will do is that I will use a dot after this particular condition. So this is one condition. Okay, so this particular whole line is equivalent to this whole line, right? If I compare it with the Pythonic way, right? And now what I will do is that I will use another when condition, when column of life underscore expectancy is greater than 60. So you can add as medium. Okay. Then I will use another dot, and I will use the else condition. Sorry, yeah, else condition, and that will be obviously equivalent to otherwise in Spark. It will be low. Okay. So now if I compare again, so this particular whole condition right from here till here is equivalent to this particular condition, and this otherwise low is equivalent to this else condition in Python. I guess now you can correlate, and the understanding will be even more clear, right? And now if I run this particular statement, so you can see a new column must be added, and here you can see the life category thing as medium, low, and high also. So let's again use the select statement, select function, I would say display df1 dot select, and we have to select life expectancy and life category column. So the recommendation is absolutely correct, and I will have to close this, and I can run here. So now you can see that if the life expectancy is between 80 and 60, we will get medium, right? If it is lower than 60, we will get low, and if it is higher than 80, so we must get high somewhere, right? So here you can see if it is greater than 80, we are getting high, right? So you guys can think, right, that even 80 is greater than 60, right? So why we are not getting medium and we are getting high in that particular thing? We have not written anything that it should be between for medium it should be between 80 and 60, right? So how my query is executing, or how it is able to understand that if it is greater than 80 we have to put high, but and if it is between 80 and 60 we have to put medium. So how this particular condition works is that if it has got this particular condition successful, so if this particular condition is successful, or if it matches this particular condition, it will not look for the other conditions that are present. It will insert high as the value in it. Okay, so we have to like use these conditions in such a way that we don't have to put so if we want to put, for sure we can do it, that if it is like if life expectancy column is less than 80 and life expectancy column is greater than 60, then you can put medium. We can for sure do that, but we need not do that because the execution will take place in this particular systematic fashion. Okay. Now let's take one more example. Okay, let's take one more example, that if the infant death is greater than 100, we have to give the output as critical. If it is greater than 50 and less than 100, we have to give the output as, let's say, high, and if it is less than 50, we have to give the output as normal. Okay, so this is what we have to do. Let me just copy and paste this right here. So what we have to do now is Control V, if infant death is greater than 100, okay, we have to give as, let's say, critical. Okay, if infant death is between 100 and 50, we have to give, let's say, as high, else we have to give as normal. Okay, this is what we have to do. So I would recommend you to pause the video for some time, right? Think about it, how we can execute this particular condition. Try to write it by yourself. If you are not able to do it, for sure we are going to see how we can do it, but it is exactly similar to the previous condition. It's just that the column name and the figures have been changed. Okay, so just try to do it by yourself. If not, for sure now we are going to see how we can do it. So now what I will do is, I will create a data frame. df1 will be equals to df dot with column. Okay, I will keep the column name as infant death risk. Infant deaths underscore risk. Okay, and now I will put the conditions. So when infant death